Can everybody hear me okay? Wonderful. So I'm going to start off by telling you I am so super edgy right now. I'm not edgy in that sort of moody and reactionary way. I'm edgy because I find myself, once again, right up here, being pushed way beyond my comfort zone, being pushed into a place where I'm not comfortable, redefining myself, questioning whether I can get through this entire talk without messing up. Wondering in general, and I find myself here a lot. I wonder, what am I doing in life with my work? Can I do what needs to be done? Do I have the capacity to actually respond to the things I need to respond to? And very often I'm asking myself, how did I get here? As a young woman, I would work at a dance studio where I made a very modest salary, but I got all of my dance classes for free. One of the best things was I took a lot of dance classes. I took about 3 hours a day. The dance room, the main dance room in the dance studio, was a huge space, had gray marley floors, had two mirrored walls. The back was full of stacked ballet bars. And on the fourth wall, there were some pictures and posters hanging up. As the music played, I would follow a similar routine. We'd warm up in the front, we'd do some across the floor combinations, and then we'd go on to do our dance composition, where we would step by step learn a new dance routine, and then we'd perform it. I have to tell you, I struggled. I didn't have the natural coordination and grace or even memory of a great dancer. Just don't. In my usual dance garb, leotards, tights, sweatpants, I would practice. Step, point, practice, repeat. Step, point, practice, repeat. Day after day. I'd monitor my progress, or perhaps lack thereof, in the mirrors that surrounded me. But there was something in that room that always caught my attention. On that fourth wall, there was a poster of a ballerina. She was at the bar, on point, passe relevé. And underneath, there were popular words of wisdom. And it would say, it is not the destination, but the journey. My instructors would urge, stretch, 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 stretch. And I willed my knees to my forehead. I would turn my head slightly to the right, gaze up, and I would read, it is not the destination, but the journey. I never understood what that meant. I looked at that for years. Not the destination? There was clearly a destination, and the destination was my forehead to my knees in this case. And the journey sucked. Sore muscles on a regular basis, an ego very fragile and, well, perched precariously on the edge. Either way, fast forward many years, my husband has explained it to me as I've taken the scenic route in life. In ways that I can't easily explain, dance led me to biology, and somehow that led me to city planning and political activism. I am incredibly fortunate to have that trajectory. There were experiences, I've stretched way beyond my boundaries, taken in new information, gone from working in a small lab to working in communities as diverse as ours, understanding people and human nature and the world around me in ways that I never thought possible. I am also a Miami native, born and raised here, but I'm a first-generation American. My parents came here out of political strife, uprooted from their country. They were very fearful and distrustful. Perhaps that's why they taught me that I was not an American. I was here, we were here, only because we could not be where we belonged, our homeland, our patria. And they would say this with such longing and affection that I could sense, but I could never understand because, of course, I was not an American. but yet I had no connection with my parents' homeland. What was this strange sense of connection, this strange, strong love of place? I really began to believe that I belonged neither here nor there. This country, and specifically this city, was very much like a survival mechanism. It was here to serve my needs, social, academic, economic, but it was not here for me to interact with it, much less have any responsibility towards it. Not being of it, I had no responsibility towards it. I was here until I was on a journey and definitely not anywhere near my destination. In 2011, I started FAU's Urban and Regional Planning Program, graduate program. And there, I naively thought, within a month, that I had found where I belonged. This was the thing for me. I had found my destination. What really astounded me, though, out of the urban planning program, was how little I knew about how a city operates. And I knew that I wasn't alone. So many people around me, people I went to school with, my Facebook friends, people that I worked with, they didn't know this stuff either. Basic city-making principles. I didn't understand how we've gotten so far as a community and as a country without understanding so much, or perhaps I should say with such little understanding of the place that we live in. One of the basic units of a city and of urbanism in general is a street. I know that doesn't sound sexy or really very interesting, but think about it. The street defines cities. It is the edge between public space and private space, the edge between communities. Our streets are our shared resources. We own them together. They are our counties and our cities and our states' most valuable assets, tons of public land. There are spaces that reflect who we are as people and as a community. Dark, empty streets are foreboding and dangerous. Wide streets with lots of cars moving fast exclude people and activities, while wide sidewalks attract activity. Kids playing, people meeting, business, life. One of the things that really troubles me, particularly here in Miami, and I'll give you an example. After starting my program, I began to have trouble walking around without getting upset. At the corner of Sunset and US 1, which a lot of us might be familiar with, there's a metro rail station, and for all intents and purposes, most people would walk there. It would be expected. When you get off the train and try to cross US 1, at least in my experience, I can hardly get across the street without that light changing. If I was walking with my able-bodied, yet 79-year-old grandmother, or the 4-year-old version of my daughter, I guarantee I could not get across the street in one light cycle. The time would run out. Again, what really bothers me is that it took me so long to understand this, to understand how horrible and how important this is. The bottom line, our streets, they are the currency of connection in our city. They're the center point where we meet and we connect with everything and everyone in our community. In our city, in Miami, there are still so many places that many of us would not feel safe nor reasonably comfortable to just simply walk. And we take that as a matter of fact. Driving is another issue altogether. We have tons of traffic. Everybody has had the experience of sitting, fretting over the amount of wasted time behind the wheel of a car. One of the most funny stories that I can remember as a young woman, as I was driving to and from work when I started working, I would be sitting in my car during my commute, be over an hour each way, and I would wonder, why can't they just add more lanes to this highway? I mean, come on. Don't these people that build streets see the need? We're all sitting here miserable. I would envision a highway that was like 12 miles long, 12 lanes wide, traveling in one direction, and then above it, right above it, another highway, another 12 lanes wide, traveling in the opposite direction to maximize mobility and we could all move faster. It took me 12 more years before I realized that that was incredibly wrong. It's been proven over and over again that every time that you add a lane of traffic, every time that you expand a street, it only adds congestion. And worse yet, it draws the lifeblood out of the city, undermining the city's ability to grow economically and sustainably. We often say, hey, Miami's a young city, give it a break. But Miami is only 100 years old. I'd like to ask, how does a city that has come of age in the era of information not know how to build streets that are safe for people? The other thing that I often wonder, is how do we get there? Who's responsible? Through my journeys, I've begun to realize, through my wanderings, I've realized that the city is ours. It is ours to shape and to create and to form. It is ours to make and to decide what happens. These streets are ours to build. Can you move to the next slide? Sorry. As for where I began with the journey, the other thing I've seriously learned is that we have no destination. There is no destination for us, and there is no destination for our city. Citing that a city is 100 years old alludes to the possibility that maybe it's going to reach a sense of maturity in another 100 years, maybe? Cities and people, we don't simply arrive. We don't simply get to a destination. There is no destination. We evolve, we adapt, we change, we grow, we push beyond our boundaries. There is no destination for us, and there is no destination for the city. All that exists is us, the edge. We are the edge, pushing and making sure that the city changes and adapts to us, and we adapt to it. One of my biggest lessons in this whole process is the relationship between people and place, between my city, that I feel connected to and I understand that connection to place, and how deeply it affects the relationship, that relationship affects both. Better cities with better streets, better shared spaces, and an eye towards a sustainable future, those cities yield better people that are more connected with their city and more connected with their place. And as you can imagine, a stronger community that is more connected goes right back around to yield a better city. I ask you to be engaged, to be involved in your city, so that it is not a dark, foreboding place. Our streets are not scary and dangerous, but they are places for people like all of us sitting in this room. Thank you.